So let us extend our classes and objects discussion. We discussed about these classes and contents of class. As we have seen this header file .h, we can talk about the implementation. .cpp, we will do it in a file called CPP. So at the top, we have to include in CPP this int linked list.h. Then we can proceed associating function with our this int linked list. So the syntax of this implementate the class function is like of the form. See the form, please. Void, that means the return type is void. This is the name of the class, and you use this double colon, and we write the function here with the argument. This is called the argument or the parameter. The function name is really the class name. This is followed by, we have this class name followed by two colons and then the name of the functions. This tells this request the compiler that this code belongs to the class, because this function is associated with the class with the use of this scope resolution operator, and we did not include this in the method signature. Add would just be a simple global function. Now the compiler has no way to know that we intend our function to be the part of the class unless we either put it inside a class, which is not a good style, but put the class name in the signature as we just saw, like this. And if we talk about actual implementation of this function, we can just copy over the code from our previous linked list implementation that we have already done. The only difference is that now the function or member function of the class, rather than global function and the variable head, which is a private member variable of the class, rather than having to be passed to a function parameter. So we are not going to repeat here. Inside a class, you can treat all variable, even the private, as global variable. Why? Because in class, whatever content are there, they are accessible to each other. So all member functions know about all the class members. But before going ahead, let us see our recursive traverse function. Hope you recall this traverse function. We used to traverse the list, which we could use, for instance, to print the entire list or print it in a reverse order, printing or reverse printing. Then this reverse order print version, and let us call this print reverse. How we are going to print reverse? We are going to pass the starting of the list, that is the address of the head, and then print reverse function, and we start with head next, and what we do, we see out head value. We start, because what will happen is this, if I write this one here, it will be printing in the sequence, but to do it in the reverse, we have to first call this recursion or this function, and then we can print out the value. Hence the head pointer wasn't always pointing to the actual head of the list, but we had it point to a different member of the list, different using function calls. But on the other hand, this overall public signature for the function will be like this, void point reverse. So how are we going to implement this recursive function? The answer would be, we declare a private helper function. How? A private helper function. We start with underscore print reverse helper, and we pass a pointer to the item. And this implementation of print reverse is just like linked list, the name, double colon, that is the scope resolution, and the function name, and we will just call this. So this is a simple way. We have done nothing. We have just made a function, and inside it we have called that function only which we were talking about, right? We have not changed anything. So let us start with our constructor and destructor. These are very important, I can say, the building blocks of our classes, and of course, the object-oriented programming. So we could now use this implementation to create an object of type, because we were talking about this int linked list, and we can add remove elements from it. This is our main.cpp. What we are going to do in this is we are first making a new. By new, we are dynamically allocating my list. This will be our list, and from 1 to 10, what we are going to do, but it will be 1 to 9 actually. We are adding value in this list. We are adding value, and then we are printing the list. But what is our concern in this particular implementation? Where is the head variable get initialized? Where is it? Before we discussed earlier that we express an empty linked list by having this head equal to null. I hope you have recalled that. So how can we be sure that we create a new object of type this int linked list? The pointer will always be null, because previously we actually did that, but here we are not doing it. We made the variables private, so we cannot add the line head equal to null before the loop. This we cannot do. So we could, or we should, create a member function which initialize in the class in linked list. In this class, we have made a class. Then we just have to remember to call it right after generating the object. But all this discussion, there is a simple solution to this. C++ has a mechanism which is called as constructor to do just that. We can define functions with a special name which will automatically be invoked when we create a new object of the class. So that is the right place to initialize the code. And the name of the constructor will be the name of the class. They will be exactly same, and a constructor is not going to return anything. This is very important. Constructor will not return anything, and this constructor will, as I suggested, will invoke or run as soon as we create an object. So let us have a constructor. This is a constructor name. This is a constructor function. Why this is a constructor? Because there is no return type. The name of the constructor will be exactly same as the class, and inside it we have just initiated head equal to null. So initially when we start our proceeding, the head will be pointing to null. Again, there is no return type. So you have multiple constructor, not just one. For instance, for example, we may add a constructor that initializes the list to contain one element with a given number already, like this. Head equal to null, we have already done. Let us add n. This n value will be added here. So there can be multiple constructors. So if we define two constructor, when we create an object, we have to specialize or which one we are going to call. This is what we have done, and in this we want to initialize, if we want to have some star q, the new linked list 3. As we have passed an argument 3, not this one but this will be invoked. So it will be, a list will be generated already with our three values. So the first case, 3 spaces. So first case calls the first constructor. It produces an empty list, while in this case the second constructor which produces a list with one item containing the number 3. So let me restate me. I want to just change my statement that one space with the value 3, not that the 3 spaces. Okay, so this is often very useful for copying the data from one object to another and reading the entire object from a file or a string. We'll be studying this copy constructor soon. This is a very important interview question in C++ and data structure. What is copy constructor? So for now, as we have this signature or number of type arguments which are different, we can create as many as constructors as we want. There is no limitation which C++ imposes. They have to be declared in your header file and implemented in C++ file. But the other question will come into your mind. Now you are able to initialize What if you want to destroy data objects which we have created when deleting an object? When we call delete my list in the our code, in the code we have discussed, it will free up the space used for sorting the pointer ahead, but it will not free up any of the memory for the elements of the linked list. That is a good thing. After all, other code may still need them. So if we do want them to be deleted, we need to create a function which is opposite of what we have just seen as constructor. For that, the function which comes to our rescue is your destructor, and this destructor is automatically called when the object is deleted. It's so beautiful now. Just like constructors, their name convention for destructor, they always have the similar name as the class with preceding tilde sign. This is the tilde sign. This is the tilde sign. This is the tilde sign. So this will be the name of the class, scope resolution vector. Only this tilde will point out or indicate that this particular function is a destructor. And how it is going to look like? That this will be the name of your class and then destructor. Then you initialize head, then whatever you want to do you can do, but in this particular destructor what you have to do is the best or the trivial choice is to delete what you have initialized. Now coming to the this pointer is very important. What happens in implementing a member function? You will run into scoping issues, such as a function has a local variable with the similar name as a member variable. This is scope. Various scopes are there. There are global scope, local scope, statement scope. We will run into trouble. For example, let us imagine that we write a set value function for the class item, and it looks like this: set value and some code here. We have some value here. Now what we want is to somehow set this value field to the class to the variable value. But writing this will be value equal to value. Value will be equal to value. This is not going to work, since whichever variable value actually it refers to or the answer in the function's parameter, both mention of the value will refer to the similar variable. Both value will be the same depending upon the scope. To make this explicit assignment, or to make explicit that an assignment or other operation is talking about a member of specific object, because we will be generating a lot of objects to which this function belongs. Of object is just an instance of class. We have object 1, object 2, object 3. So which object we are talking about? First object will also have a same function, access to same function. Second object will also contain the same function. Third and nth object will also have the same function. While doing, say you are dealing with object 7, I want the function of object 7. How you are going to get that? For that, there is a keyword which is called as this. This keyword is always a pointer to the object to which this method belongs. Always, this line is very important. This is a pointer which is given by C++, and it points to the method of the present object we are talking about. So we can just write this value. So this value will be, the value will be assigned to this value, means whatever value has come, the present object value will be assigned this value. There are other uses of this pointer. One of the most important one arises when you have an object A. Say you have object A, another object B, and B is supposed to know A's identity. For example, A can be the main part of an application, B can be the sub part that is created by A on the fly. Now A might want B to call some function of A when the user presses a certain button. But for the B, or for that, B needs to be told the identity of A. Okay, B should know the identity of A, but B has been created by A only. The way one normally does that, is that when B is created, it gets passed that this pointer of A and thus knows about A. So this pointer will help B to know the identity of A. So hope you got the idea, and thank you so much. Take care.